Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the PGI EU qualifiers as we had game number 7 conclude. WTSG gets themselves the chicken dinner, and here on my desk we have the Hawaiian pizza expert himself, all the way from Hawaii. We've flown him in 22 hours. He brought pineapples with him. It's toffees, and we have Avenger. And overall, what did you think of game number 7?
I thought it was great. I thought the pineapple pizza segment was pretty phenomenal too.
Yeah, you like that too?
Who puts a pizza on pineapple?
Who gets a pineapple tattooed on your lower arm? Just
that guy.
UK
All right,
boys.
Game 7 though. As much as that was like an amazing segment, Game 7 was interesting. We saw Liquid extend their lead. We saw some new players really enter the game. Most importantly, we saw favorites like FaZe drop the ball, for lack of a better description. They really are not where we expect them to be. FaZe, I don't expect great things out of day 1 all the time. But day 2, usually they're on an uptick. It doesn't feel that way today.
And I really want to see where our standings lay now, because this could be big shifts. FaZe Clan drops to 7th there. So a big hit for them after the last 2 games. Team Liquid still extends their lead. Puts Spain Knights in 2nd. Welcome to South George. Welcome to the top 3.
11-3. That's how big that jump was off of these bad boys. We know that the middle of the bracket is tight. This shows us just how. And I will say, Liquid is not as far ahead as we thought that they might be. They're doing well, but they can be caught in 2 games. So there's still a chance for a lot of these teams who are all within 200 points of each other to push up. So no one can feel comfortable. Elga Ganton in 4th place with 18-10.
Big. That's big.
No chicken dinners, but these guys have been spoilers. Always in the final 5, and often doing it with more than one player. Big hats off to them on the way that they're playing this game.
And ways they could have even, in that previous game, they could have even got further with that. So there are glimmers of hope there for El Giganten to push potentially into the top 3 through the tournament.
Easily. I mean, I just want to see more aggressiveness from them in the end game.
Yeah.
I want to see taking critical positions in the end game where they can strive and just kill, because we know they're able to kill. And we saw them kind of where they, with the third party, yes, but they could put themselves in a position to third party even more, where they have their full team, because here they could have swept all the way south, and they could have easily taken better than the 4th position they got.
Let's check 11th through 20th as well to see where everybody is stood so far. Team Red Zone, as much as they got the first win at the beginning, still 11th place, need to be racking up a few more points. But as you said, the middle of the pack, very, very tight right now. We're hoping that teams like Singularity, Zakobors, and Moonwolf can gain themselves a few more points and push themselves up the rankings. At the moment, Team Atlantis with 975 points. There has been moments for Team Atlantis, as we're done with the standings, thank you very much. There's been moments for Team Atlantis where we've saw kind of small little opportunities for them to really get in good positions. One that really does stand out, Avenger, for me, was when they were able to take Radar Tower during our, I think, 4th or 5th game, and then from there be able to play from there. It didn't quite pan out for them, though. What do you think of Team Atlantis here?
Atlantis is a team of old Arma 3 BR legends. They are very good. They are extremely well renowned in the BR scene. What I want to see for them going forward, I want to see them be more greedy in the 2nd zone. They have to go deeper. They're going very much edge, and it's not working for them just yet. Edge-wise, yes, you can do it if it's viable, but if you're playing edge, you got to be ready. When the 3rd zone hits, you got to go straight for a very good compound, for a very good position to be able to go there. Their transitioning spots, where they are transitioning from, where they are stopping and scouting before going further, is not just working out for them yet. They are going over the bridges at the correct times. Their timings for the bridges, crossing the bridges, is correct.
Yeah.
But I want to see them prioritize going closer to the middle in the 3rd circle.
It's the mid game for me. They have limitless potential, but right now they're limited by that mid game. They're making good rotations in the early game. They're taking these edge compounds, but they're staying too long, and they're not making bold choices, and that's resulting in desperation dives. When that 4th circle establishes itself, or that 5th circle, they're jumping on their motorcycles, and they're praying hard and just charging to the middle because they were too late to get a compound that's strategically viable in that circle. So that section right there, I need them to get a little more aggressive about their selections and just be willing to maybe take a fight in 5 to avoid forcing a fight in 6 or 7.
Limitless potential. I see what you did there, America, man. I see what you did there. But overall, I mean, there's been moments where they aptly have been transitioning via boats. When it came to yesterday, when we had that circle up towards George, they were using all the way around from where they were in Novo to eventually go in towards South George. And it was a good position for them eventually, but they spend so much time doing that, which is important too.
It's the weakness of the island, right? Because if you do the boat transition, yes, it's safe. It's a good escape mechanism. The problem is when you finally make it to land, you have to invest time and resources into gathering information about who's already there, which results in those late desperation dives because everyone else has taken their spot. Cars are faster than boats, just the reality of the situation.
All right, and of course, with that, all of these teams still vying for the top 3 spots, and with that, they can get themselves to Berlin. You can also get yourselves to Berlin if you go to pgi.playbattlegrounds.com/tickets and purchase your tickets there. You need to come there because you need to get those skins as well and see all of the best teams in the world performing for a $2 million prize pool, which is utterly crazy. And I would like some of that prize pool, but I'm not going to get it because I'm not a good enough player. And also not playing in the qualifiers, so that kind of sucks too.
You're stuck here. You prioritize being here, which we're very happy for.
Oh, that's the nicest thing he's ever said to me.
You guys are having a moment.
Though?
Is it though? I like that your question. I don't know. Is it?
Nicer things.
Regardless, we're going to be moving into game number 8 here in a few moments' time. We were saying at the beginning who we thought that might be one of our spoilers coming forward. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a poke. I thought that El Giganten might actually do pretty well because of the kind of things that we saw from them in the later circles of yesterday. They've proven so far that they're not doing too bad. They just kind of need to iron out some kinks. Do you think that eventually they're going to be able to get themselves a chicken dinner? What do we think?
If they pick up the confidence game, right? Because he nailed it on the head last time. They could have won that. When they saw Sigsy take out Liquid, their primary threat to the north, they push south, they eliminate their threat down there, and then it's an easy walk to the finish. They hesitated a little too much, and I think that cost them the chicken dinner. That said, though, they're consistently in that position to win. We just need to see them close the deal.
Honestly, as you said here, I mean, I like the aggressiveness from them, just not at the right times. If they're aggressive at the right times, they're going to take a chicken dinner maybe today, but maybe tomorrow. It's going to be one of these days, I hope, for them. I just want to see them aggressive at the right time. So the timing and taking the opportunity for it.
And I think we have multiple teams that are doing that right now. Red Zone won the first game. They finished in 6th place last time around. So, again, they decided to buckle down, play consistent, look for that top 5, and they did well there. We saw Grow Up Esports, 5 kills, 7th place. They've been playing spoiler for a lot of teams and getting a lot of kills in transition.
And Knights, I mean, getting 5th place in that last game too is really putting them in a great spot at that 2nd place right now when it comes to the standings. Again, you know, we've only just now breaching to the halfway mark. Our game number 8 is the halfway point here for these 15 games. So this game is where everything starts to shift. Things get a bit more desperate. Things get a bit more crazy when it comes to actually wanting to rack up those points. So from here, maybe we see a bit more change and tendencies, or does that have to wait to day 3 for these teams?
I mean, this is the part where consistency starts to really shine. Teams like Knights, I think we were even calling them the kings of consistency during qualifiers because they don't always get the chicken dinner, but they're always sort of representing themselves well in the end. We saw it at DreamHack. They started very slow. They came out of the gate smashing on day 2 and played very, very well. But it's because they always maintain, even in a bad game, we're still going to finish relatively high up the charts. And so on day 2, those points start to really stack up, and your teams that finish high and low and have polar endings, they start to slide down the rankings significantly.
Knights here, they went to DreamHack with no chicken dinners. That just talks to their consistency. And I want to see that in the 20-team meta as well. They are getting there a lot, but with this potential they have right now, they could easily get a chicken dinner as well. I talked about it in the pre-show as well. I want to see them play the 20-team meta like they play the 16-team meta, and they're doing it now. So potentially, I want to see a chicken dinner from them today as well.
And they could benefit from an Eastern Circle. Okay, so they are working that sort of mansion, crater, prison split over there, crater, prison, whatever we're going to call it. And they just haven't had a chance to chase. They've been chasing today. They also have been dealing with FaZe rotates north of them. So it sort of locks out a large portion of their ability to play the north side of the map. I hope that they watch the replays and realized FaZe isn't doing that as much as they used to in this tournament and make those northern rotations work for them.
In squads, man, I love dropping mansion and then going get what I like to call the chicken nuggets that are left over in prison, because there's always just a few left there. It's not quite a chicken dinner, but it's just a few extra pickings.
Nuggets.
The chicken nuggets.
That's clever. I mean, that's been what Knights has been picking up this entire tournament, is they're getting the crumbs, not the dinners. And, and they need to get one, right? I mean, when you come to a qualifier, you can't treat it like DreamHack where you qualify by not actually winning anything. But again, in that last game, they were in a position to do it, but they were down 1 player. They were down 2, but I think if they had had 3, they probably would have won that. It was also some really great shooting by Larson to take that one home and knock a lot of those sort of flankers out. So take nothing away from Welcome to South Georgia's play last time around, but I think Knights is picking up steam and is going to only get better from here.
Let's talk about some of the teams that we don't actually get much chance to talk about just yet. Maybe just one before we actually get into this game, as I'm getting word that we're almost ready for the game, guys, just bear with us for a moment. Izako Boars is a team that actually, from day 1 to day 2, I've seen a little bit of noticeable improvement from. They seem to be getting a few kills under their belt here and being able to put themselves in okay spots. They're not quite breaching into the higher end just yet, but I feel there's definitely improvement there.
There's room for improvement, yes. They put themselves in a position in the first circle I like, so kind of center position, but they're not good on the macro rotations in the mid game to the late game.
Now, Matchroom actually talked to them a little bit before we got into the matches today, and they said we're used to playing on economy computers, 20 frames per second. Like our home computer rigs aren't that great. So here, we're used to playing very safe and holding back and, avoiding fights because when things get crazy in the shifts, we can't hit anybody.
Right.
This is a different ballgame. These guys are playing at the same level as everyone else technologically.
Yeah.
And you can see that. Today, they've been taking more fights, playing more aggressively.
Got some good kills.
And I think, they've got a lot of kills. They've actually spoiled like 3 different teams on rotation.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really good step in the right direction. They're feeling confident, and I'm excited to see what they do now that they're comfortable with the computers and not having to lead somebody by like 20 meters to hopefully hit them as they skip across your screen.
I was going to say, for me, this is like training in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Exactly.
Like, you're just underweights for a while, and then you're like, wait a minute, everything's fine. This is great. I'm loving this. So maybe they can actually get a few more spoilers going on here whilst we continue things on. Thank you very much, gentlemen, as we are ready for game number 8. We're going to head over to our new duo. Oh, well, not quite new, but, they're not Lauren, they're not Rich. It is Lee and Matchroom. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. And, well, immediately, Matt, we're straight into game number 3. A lot of things on the line. It's something actually before they're taking the headsets off already, but something I want to ask the analyst desk when we get back to them. Because we've been talking about, obviously, WTSG. They've been creeping up the tables. Well, they've had a bunch of Western circles. There's not been a single circle for FaZe yet. So while we've been saying they're slipping down the table, there's not been a single Southern circle. It's all.
This is true.
We did have a couple of East circles, but no South circles yet. So maybe they're just waiting their time. We're at the halfway stage, Matt. There's so long to go right now.
I know, and I have to say that this is an absolutely cruel plane path that's going to be coming through here. It's going to be going right over Military Base Island and ending up around the Kameshki area. That the guys that are going to be going for Georgia Pool, those hard pushes, this is going to be really hard. Like, welcome to South George. It's in their name. They go to South George. This time around, they might have to be like, welcome to Saverny or Stallburg. It's going to be a hard push to make it all the way over to Georgia Pool, where so many teams love to drop at.
And one thing I will say for at least the Southern teams is they've had almost every single plane path.
This is true, yeah.
Welcome to South George. I've not had many planes that have gone over Georgia Bowl. We just
Yeah.
had the previous game. I think that was probably the first one, maybe the second at most, that have actually gone that way. So a lot of vehicles going to be stolen away. Look to Method try and secure what they can in and around Pachinki. You can see Welcome to South George. They're going for that Gatka spread. So Team Blank, who are going to be looking to drop in Gatka, they're going to be trying to secure their vehicles because Welcome to South George, they're actually looking to drop around Ferry Pier way and try and steal what they can.
There's a lot of cars right in that area. So these roads that are kind of in between where we're looking at right now and all the way up to Georgia Pool area, people are going to be trying to hard drop on any vehicle that they see, which could lead to a couple of squads kind of contesting. Might see some early runovers coming into this. As people get very violent, if you try to take their car away from them, they'll just jump in and turn around on it. And I got to say, this is a cruel circle. Make a plane path to where you have to drop way off in the distance, and then let's just go ahead and give us a Georgia Pool circle. So now everybody's going to be stuck in this long rotation.
I mean, this is almost a similar circle to the last game, right?
We've seen three circles like this now.
We just saw it finish in the field, and we've seen it finish down on the West Coast as well.
Hey,
so
Larson's
a number
got
of
himself a
circles. There's Larson, the man that just basically single-handedly won that last game. He took the fights. He took the central circle as well. So fair play to Welcome to South George, formerly known as Kingwin. If you recognize some of the names, that is why they have been performing very well, and they've got themselves up into that third place on the overall points. And at the halfway stage, that is not a bad place to be. You need to be looking at, I would say, at least the top 10 by the end of today if you want a chance of qualifying.
I mean, just like the desk was talking about, we're halfway in now. We can see that Liquid's doing a great job. They have a great comfort zone that they can play around now. They've been performing consistently, but they have to be careful not to rest on their laurels. There's that whole joke about FaZe, or I guess meme is the better thing. FaZe on Sundays, man, they explode. So you know that they're going to be climbing through the leaderboard. Well, right now they're in 7th place. We got squads like Welcome to South George that just pushed themselves into that 3rd place spot. A lot of adaptation coming in day 2. These guys that were kind of struggling in the middle of the pack really, really coming to compete today.
Well, Team Liquid on your screens just there, you know, prophecy says that they do very well on day 1 and then just fall apart. Well, that hasn't been the case today, has it?
They've been doing really well.
They could have took the last game if they'd have done a little better. To be fair, they got Ibiza revived a number of times when they shouldn't, because the Knights should have dealt with them, but they had a little bit of luck going their way in the final circle, I think.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the day, you make your own luck. You know, they've been Yas9 the entire time. There has been a number of circles. There's been a Sosnovka circle. They've actually done very well in those circles.
See, I'm not a big believer in the whole circle luck thing. I think that whenever you get, I think it's way worse because now everybody's gunning for your position, and you have to fight off all of these squads. Specifically in these last couple of circles, you have to fight off, what? In the last game, we had 19 teams still alive in Circle 5. So you have to be gunning every single direction. You have to prove that you want to hold and contest that location. Now, one squad I do want to point out, Red Zone. I think that they've been performing very well. I think they should almost switch their name into Safe Zone. They managed to find the safe zone so well today. They keep getting in these great positions. They're always transitioning ahead of everybody else and getting into these really great spots.
The first team to break the deadlock between Team Liquid and Rogue, of course, winning all the chicken dinners. They won the first game of today. WTSG, welcome to South Georgia, just won the previous one. Now will we see a new, fresh chicken dinner winner? Grow Up Esports, they would love one right there, as would Rogue. They got 2 yesterday. Yannick, is that an early rotate? Is he off already?
Finally.
This is interesting.
This
Finally,
is what I
they're
see.
making these early rotates, Rogue. Yeah, because they've been bridge camp so many times. They've been bridge camp on the east, on the west, even in North Georgia, Paul, they were bridge camp.
I mean, at this point, you just feel cursed. And, oh, El Giganton already losing one right there. Coming into South Georgia, I mean, you got to know at this point, welcome to South Georgia is going to be in South Georgia. You got to be careful about that.
I mean, I don't actually know where exactly. It was Miraku that got the kill, so it must have been literally in that side, or whether it was on the road.
It was over on that western side of the road. You can see right across the road that he's holding at. They kind of just positioned in there. And he was all by his lonesome. I think he was a scout trying to get into a spot.
Yeah, and maybe over to North Georgia Bowl, because it was El Giganton that actually camped on the bridge, wasn't it, on Rogue earlier on. Then themselves, El Giganton, by the way, have been doing very well consistently. Blank here as well. They've been fairly consistent yesterday. Fell away a little bit today. They did have some very good results yesterday, though, so still up in the top 10 in points. El Giganton very much impressed me. The consistency they've had in the top 5 placements over the last few games has been really very good. Mark 14, decent
just about everything you wanted.
You're just about pretty much happy with that. You obviously you get your level 3 items, but a Mark 14, very much an upgrade to the SKS, so you're going to be happy if you can get your hands on that. And look at Rogue, look at this, they are very early. Now remember, the playing path did kind of go over them. So they are obviously going to be able to drop, get the loot early. But I was just talking to Miniman downstairs, actually, who's been coaching, managing Rogue for a very long time now. And we were talking about how basically the patches that have come out for Rogue has kind of nerfed out the effectiveness of going into military base, right? Because the reason you used to go there originally, you get your level 3 gears, you maybe get a better chance at getting some SLRs or something like that. So whatever DMR, it tickles your fancy, really.
Right.
But now that obviously, you know, the patches that came out, the weapon patches, etc., it's effectively nerfed military base.
Well, it's also made it a lot harder to play. Whenever we talk about these circle shifts that come in around Circle 4 where it tries to go away from water, military base is predominantly water. It's got everything all around it. It's the island itself. You know, everybody's talking about how hard it is if you don't get that spot. Now you know that you're going to have to do a long transition because you've got the canal going right around it. You know you're predominantly going to have to go into this northern area. One thing that's kind of surprising is right now, we've only seen one really northern circle as Fuffin kind of takes down Fuffin. That happens.
Oh,
no big deal.
Again. He was one of the last ones, isn't he? Or was he the one that got there first? No, he's midway through. Ewan's coming in behind him. So.
Yannick's already inside of that position up there, so...
Good lord.
Oh, that happens. But look at that. That's some nice gear on him, too. Maybe one of the guys will swing by and grab it. But we do actually have boars right on the outside, playing right along the edge. Depending on how Rogue transitions here, they might have a little bit rougher of a time. Yannick managed to get into a good spot, but look at how many other squads have already kind of positioned along their path. This is the problem kind of coming into that point. And I like this coming up from Method. This is a squad that has been gunning over the past couple of days. I like them taking a high ground position early, bringing out the DMRs, and just holding up this position, trying to gatekeep anybody that encroaches.
They were in the same position in the previous matchup as well. They started out in this position. FaZe very late rotating, by the way. Considering the plane, it did go over Sosnovka up to Kameshki way, so they were into Milton Power very early on. They can't go too early because they're going to run the risk of running into, say, Moonwolf or Knights. But I'm interested to see what plane path they take here, because their rotations have been questionable.
To be
I would
fair,
say,
they
so
aren't
far.
getting circles. They're having to make these long
That's
transitions
true,
across the world, and they tend to always loot heavy, so that means they're always coming in late.
The normal circle for them, and the normal rotation would be to go deep south across and cut up west coast, because they're looking for free territory. Now, obviously, there is 20 teams in the lobby. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
But they've kind of been cutting the route sort of direct center and just losing players in rotation. And that's so unphased-like to lose players in rotation.
Well, I think it's confidence that's coming in through here. I mean, everybody kind of talks about how we're in the phase era of PUBG because they're just such a winning team. At a certain point, you have that confidence where you just feel you can gun anything and you can just take down anybody that's around you. The problem with it is there's a lot of these squads that they're not used to playing against and aren't inside the scrims and all this other stuff that are just being in really odd spots for them, and they're just getting caught in transitions because they're like, why on earth is somebody here?
Fun? Did you not like what Dave told you? Did he say something bad?
Sometimes
something bad in comms. It had to be.
Sometimes you just got to disrespect. Like one of your teammates disrespects you, you got to lay down the law and be like, no,
Now
we're going my call.
Oh no,
long range shots coming down on him now.
That's Team Blank. Team Blank taking shots. Get that smoke down, Dave. Oh, Dave. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't mean it, Dave. Oh, Dave. He's gone. Fun. I'll tell you what. You owe him a beer.
And this is an odd choice right now. We're seeing a VSS in play. This does not happen too often, to say the least.
He's got a lot of bullet drop he's going to have to get.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well just go ahead and aim at the sun and pray the bullet falls where it's going to land at. But we got a lot of transitions coming into play now. FaZe still on the move. Remember, we were just talking about them as they started their transition. It's been about a minute and a half now, and that's terrible. You're going to have to line it up. Fuzzface, it's all on you now. Can you potentially flip it?
Max is like, I can get it back, boys. I can get it back.
No, this is risky. I don't like this. At least try to flip the vehicle because now they have 3 people inside of a vehicle. If they get sprayed, that's going to be rough. 1 DP, an AK, can just tear apart that vehicle.
So Gemtis carried on moving to the south, and it looks like the rest of FaZe are going to head that way. So maybe FaZe realizing finally that, they're going to post up. I can see Gemtis decided to pull up on the hill. So it looks like FaZe are going to regroup. They're going to go for a 2-2 split in the cars. But more importantly, they're not going to look to blast into center. Texas here from the Knights, who have been fairly consistent. Texas, one of the strongest players coming out of VMAC. Austin, Hyper going down to Kramer and boxing. They're getting the caught around the side. It is all looking very good. Oh no, he's even caught the pack of Gova. The Wizards sadly not been their tournament really. They've been having a lot of problems. They've been doing 2-2 splits on the drops. They've been trying everything, and it's just not gone their way.
And they just keep getting caught out, and they always lose a couple of members early. Like the team, whenever they can actually survive late, whenever they have 4 people up and active, we've seen them do quite well inside of the end circles. It's just these early transitions. They just keep getting caught off guard. And that was a foot push coming out from the Knights right up on top of him and just sprung a trap on him and took him down. Now we've got Atlantis on the outside of the blue here, kind of pushing out. This is kind of common for them. They're not necessarily in the biggest rush coming through there. A lot of vehicles flipping over, but he's going to be able to ride it.
Totally meant that, no problem. They're coming out late because if you remember, there has been a couple of bridge camps out there, so they're playing right on the edge of the blue to work their way in. Rogue themselves, obviously, who have been doing that, decided to switch them and went early. So they are just south of Method right now. The question is, where's this circle going to go? Is it
this is
north?
the gamble.
Is it going to go south?
Because you've got the river that's running right through the middle of the circle. Well, I guess, I don't know, about a third the way through the circle. So a lot of these teams are opting into a northern position. We've got Knights up there, the remainder of Wizards, Alliance. That's kind of like their home. Alliance drops Severny. They kind of get control over this whole northern area. Now, what's interesting is we see Welcome to South George do that shift out. We're starting to see a lot of people hold down potential positions where if this does shift north, you can catch a lot of free kills on these transition points, specifically trying to cross that river. If this goes north, it could be very bad for a lot of these teams, and no, it's just going to make the decision that much harder as it's now the river directly through the middle of it. These guys in the south are all going to have to condense down or go on a large, long rotation on the outside of this.
I mean, this is such a hard gamble. You see,
and here's the bridge camps coming to play.
Red Zone very much in position on the crossroads camp position, but I'm fairly certain by Circle 4 it even pulls away from the river. Which at the moment it's very much a 50-50 circle, so really it is a gamble. And
well, right
do
now,
you go north or south? There's a lot less real estate in the north, I would say, to occupy. But generally, most people do prefer to go north because the rotations to the north from here are very tricky.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice positions you can play on the northern side and catch people coming in. The southern side's a little bit harder to set up those bridge camps on, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But again, so much gatekeeping already coming into play. We still have 73 people alive. All 20 teams up and active.
Flames
Looks like
over the
most of the
bridge.
teams are already starting to get into a position, and Reels is going for a hard push down onto this.
Alliance, yeah. I mean, Fever's there. The rest of his team, we're not seeing it, but on the minimap, they are actually coming in to try and help out. Looks like they've just took a divert because Red Zone was taking shots, so Fever's going to be left alone for now. As Dove from Singularity, a team that's really been hunting for points, gets that one player down from El Giganton, but now the rest of the team strikes. Stars will get Tau Zero down. Savage gets a little peek around the window. And, well, while they did manage to get the knock on Blaze, they didn't secure it. The nades are coming in, but it looks like he's going to be safe unless another trickles down the hillside. Tozura down on the top there. It was a 2-on-4. The Flames do arrive in support. The cavalry is here. Fever's done well to keep Alliance away with it from that compound.
You can see Real Zitness there. Feel it, retreats back. Nice grenade coming out from T-Bone there, getting multiple downs on it, but it's kind of a long push, so it's a little bit risky, so that's why they're going for this outside reposition. If he plays along these outside walls, they know that they have to go for the res. Now it's just a matter of trying to outrun them. Nice distractions coming on the other side from VZ. This is a beautiful flank position. It's right on the backside of the building, so they can't get clear line of sight. It's going to be all onto Sigzy. If he can get in the spot, he does see the move. You can see it's right on the outside of it, but we've got a little bit of fence that's kind of blocking the line of sight on it. This is where the risk comes in. Does he continue the push? There's open field over there. He says, no, too much, too early. Let's kind of retreat back. Well, actually, he's thinking about it. You can see he's jumping back between those two rocks. He's like, maybe I should go for it. The rest of the team looks like they're going for a position to hold for it. Right? Sigzy's going on the outside of this, but all the reses have come through.
Yeah, they're definitely a call from the team there, and he's got a clear angle on them now. They all back out of the smoke. He can get a couple of shots. Red Zone were also taking shots in the side because they managed to get a knock. Fever gets knocked down. He was the scout inside the house. Pony Rider tries to get around the side. He's going to get knocked out by Reels, and Sigzy
they crashed on the outside of the wall.
managed to catch him. And T-Bone, the last man standing. Look at this, pushing in there. Hamster all alone now.
He's got all control. Now he knows it's just one guy left. Wait for the rest of the team to come up. That way, in case you get down, there's no risk inside of it. Put all pressure onto Hamster at this point. He's going to have the fight of his life coming into this. He knows he has to hold the angle. I like the reposition, trying to use a little bit of the share there. Leans back out. You can see T-Bone's just waiting for him to peek around the corner. The rest of Alliance is flooding in from the bottom.
Did anyone bring a molly? Did anyone bring a molly?
Molly would be so dirty in this position. And here he goes for the push.
Oh, they know where he is. They know the room is in
damage.
now. They did. That's just limited their options. They knew he was either left or right, but now they know exactly where he is. He peeks around and he goes down. The Copenhagen Flames, sadly, their story continues. It's 20th place for them once again. They had a decent performance in the previous matchup, but they are eliminated first. Singularity, meanwhile, have just took down Ilgiganten, who have been so consistent throughout this one. They will go down in 19th place. That is some much-needed kills. Yannick taking shots on Atlantis. Once again, these guys, they keep rubbing into each other. Despite the fact that, I mean, they start on Sosnovka, obviously, but they can go all the way north, and they still find each other.
Any path that they take, you can see that they're on a very similar mindset. Wherever they go, they just keep bumping into each other. New Circle has updated. A lot of teams are already inside the safe circle. It's going to be right around the river area, still condensing around this spot.
Ooh.
The northern teams might have to make a little bit of a harder transition down. There's not a lot of places to play around there. There's like those little divots, but now a lot of pressure onto these northern teams.
So now we know the next circle is going to go south. We know it's going south. It's going to pull away from that water. So you've got to start looking at his positions. Now, Red Zone are in trouble. Alliance are in trouble. Moonwolf are in trouble. They're all up on the north. Night Scene need to get motoring. Look at Team Liquid on the mini-map. I don't know if you can get a quick glimpse on the map. They're going all the way around on this western side. That's exactly what you should be doing right now. Yes, it's in the blue. Yes, it's the third zone, and it's going to hurt. But it is the safest path by far. They're going to come in around the edge of Rozhok sort of way, and actually probably near FaZe right now, who are positioning themselves on the edge.
But the problem with it is it's such a large rotation. It's going to take so long to get over there. You're going to see a lot of the quality real estate positions already claimed. Look how spread out FaZe is at the direct time.
But
you can see one's in a position at. I mean, I don't know. At this point, you can see that everything that you would want is essentially taken. You're either going to crash around where Boris is going to be at, you're going to crash around where FaZe is going to be at, or you're going to end up around Atlantis and Welcome to South George. And we got Rogue repositioning. Looks like they're going to come right across them. This could be a very hard rotation coming in from Liquid. I like the play, but it's real risky.
So where Method are right now, and honestly, where Team Blank are, and I would say is almost certainly going to be center circle in the next circle time. I mean, you could be looking at WTSG and Blank, that sort of area, because you've got to think it's going to shrink down or contract down, whichever you prefer, away from a decent chunk of that water. It's not going to be able to go 100% out of that water because that is still a decent river that goes through there.
We've got Alliance that's actually running up and pushing the exact same place that Atlantis is. They're going to be a couple 100 meters away from each other. As yes, Atlantis does spot it out, spins on him, trying to get a little bit of damage out, just saying, no, this is our hill, get away from there. That's going to force them into low ground positions, but now Alliance has no real save point that they can play in. They either have to drive down and push into Method, they have to go down near Penta. They're just having to crash into a little corner. As you can see, they're already starting to take some casualties.
Well, while that's happening, Atlantis get a good angle on Method. Meanwhile, in the north, the Knights ran into Moonwolf. You saw a kill feed. They've decided to just separate from one another and go opposite directions. While we see WTR trying to land these shots and not really finding them. And that looks like Andy Pyro returning fire because you saw just a puff of smoke on the rock next to him. That was very tight. Look at the Knights. This is what we're talking about. So while Liquid chose to go similar time around the far western circle, eastern circle, sorry.
Look, they
the
already have to
Knights
shift out.
have basically got to push in, and they have to make this horrible, horrible journey over the river.
Look, Liquid made that hard push out and around. They encountered FaZe. They didn't like it. Now they're having to reposition back in, and now they're forced to play edge. At this point, you have a general idea, like you were talking about. It's probably going to end up with the next circle going somewhere around ruins. So a lot of these teams are taking pot shots back and forth at each other, but if you're Liquid, now you know you're going to have to essentially walk, run, and gun your way through here.
Yeah.
I do want to follow up with something about Atlantis, though. They've been lining up trying to take these shots from this high ground position. They're playing very loud, and every single time they peek up, all 18 teams can essentially know where they are. It's very, very hazardous for them to do that. Finally do see Red Zone coming in, but looks like they're going to go right up to where Method is.
Oh, that's risky. Gavran's going to try and play the coastal edge that dips into the water, so he's tried to pull up. AT, you can see he's not having any of it. AT's gone right up on the flank side of the right. Getting a good old look down there, giving the information to Marman. He says there's just one right now. The rest of the team are going to come in, so they have to be very much aware of that. There's the circle shift. We knew it would pull away from the water. WTSG and Blank very much in a decent spot. You can see Rogue are actually blasting in on the south side. FaZe also coming across. They've gone for a 2-2 split, so they're moving from east to west. Rogue are going to try and move across. They're going to set themselves up a vehicle compound just to the south of the Boars in the yellow houses there, which actually is a pretty safe territory right now. Red Zone, we saw them moving in. They got too close. Unfortunately, it was Method that we thought they got too close to, but it's Penta and Alliance taking shots.
Penta's playing up around that church that's run on the edge of ruins. So now they're essentially pincered between two different spots. We've got Celis in his position here, but you can see they're playing the rocks. Way on the outside of this, you can see Knights is repositioning, so they can actually take pot shots into the back of them. This is going to be very hard for Red Zone to survive through.
I think Gavran's the last man standing for them. He's in all sorts of trouble. Method themselves are still in the circle, so they don't really need to reposition. FaZe have crept in. Liquid have got a tricky passage, actually. There is a bunch of mounds they can go through. They'll probably go through ruins, looking like their path there. They're going to head out toward back to Zaki, also coming over to Watertown as well. Taking a boat at this stage, I'm not too sure on that one, Matt.
Well, you're just running right into Pinta. There's nowhere to go. You're just hard pushing through. A lot of the shots are going wide, but you can crash into this point, and you can kind of hide in this little crevice. There's the rock over to the right. If you're a solo up at this time, that is a great spot to potentially hide at. I think he spotted it and is like, yep, okay, this is going to be my new home.
Can't the Knights take shots at him as well? They're just the other side. Oh,
It's
Vox
kinda
has
hard.
just
The
been
boat blocks
down
it
by
a little
Moonwolf. Moonwolf themselves very late coming out of the north. They're going to have to cross the river themselves, so that's risky themselves, being loud. You just talked about being loud. Coming over the river and being loud, very risky.
I really like the positioning that's coming out from Pinta. You can see that they were holding that high ground spot, but they had one in the low ground, making sure to fin the path up. So it's going to be really cool to see how we see aggression coming in that zone, as Ruin looks like it's going to be a hot spot.
Liquid, FaZe taking shots on them. FaZe could do with a big game right now. Liquid themselves are very much comfortable at the top of the table, so they are playing fairly consistently so far today. Voxic contested and down, so Knights in all sorts of trouble at the moment. Penta picking up a number of kills. They've been up on that hill, on the tower hill of the ruins, and it is a really good sniping spot if you have the scopes and the DMRs to make it work, and it seems like they do. Liquid realizing they have FaZe nearby. FaZe outside of the circle. They're actually looking to flank around. FaZe are going aggressive.
Well, I like this play coming out from Knights. They saw where Red Zone was, just hard pushes into him, finishes it out. Now they have control over that area, so it's a little bit of a safe spot for them. But we're seeing that Liquid is inside the safe zone as of right now, but we have FaZe that is not yet. So this is going to have to be a skirmish that is going to go down.
They've chose to flank around the side, which is very, very ballsy. Looks like they've backed in again now. I don't think they're realizing, it's not really worth it backing around them, but Liquid are actually pushing up on them, so this is going to be a battle very much close quarters in and around those yellow buildings. Not really anyone that's going to be out of third party this one. Blank maybe be able to take shots on Liquid, so Liquid can't afford to silhouette over the top of this barrier. You can see this little bit of defilade in front of them. They can't go too high above that and push on FaZe, because then Blank are going to get involved and start third party. And it's crazy!
He's still alive. He's been kind of solo for so long now, and he's been having to creep his way in here, but you can see that a lot of fight is happening around Moonwolf. He's just kind of tailing right back behind them. They feel comfortable. They feel like they have control over the zone behind him, but at any given point, he can just kind of pop up on this. No, don't throw the smoke. That'll give away your position, man.
I know this has been a running thing for you. It's all about not throwing the smokes. You give your
When
spot
you're
away.
a solo, it gives you away. You can see it does not
He's using
work.
their smoke, see? He's using their
See,
smoke.
that's the smart way to do it. Follow right back
right on
behind
top
him.
of it.
Oh, hey, what's going on, man?
He's got to go for it. Gets a little peek around the side. Now he's going to be able to finish him off. Edikos is just ahead of him, but now he's in the blue. He's got to go for the shots. Edikos will take him down. Wizards go down in 17th place, but that's cost Moonwolf a man. And they don't think they're really going to be able to get the revive on there. The circle goes to welcome to South George again. This is looking good for those boys. They've had a really good last couple of games. Can they continue on? They just had a chicken dinner in the last matchup and a crazy finish from Larson. Liquid, of course, have been consistent so far, but there's still 16 teams alive at this stage.
Welcome to South George is in a great position at this point, but so many of these squads are going to be condensing around this area. You can see the Blank's in a position over there, taking some shots at Liquid. FaZe is just on the other side of this. This is going to be a skirmish that we're going to have to keep track of because so many of these guys are going to have to collapse into a similar point.
Yeah, and you just talked about Liquid right now. Like, where do you go? Do you go over the brow of the hill, basically platoon style, straight into Blank? Do you go south, where FaZe were, but FaZe have actually repositioned. They've come around. They're looking on the back sides of Rogue now, and that's a fairly open run. They're going to have to use a bit of smoke here unless GMT can land something. FaZe does get Ewan down. That may be the go sign it is. FaZe are on the move. Look at Yemty instantly going. Yannick gets himself back up on his feet, but he has to get out of there. Meanwhile, Moonwolf get eliminated by Drayden. He gets himself a 2v1 over there. Jazza also gets knocked. Rogue are getting picked apart. Now Liquid try and make the move. They're catching Haxedi in the back. They've decided to flank around on the west side of try and get around that circle. Looks like Rogue have just been eliminated. They have. They've gone down in 15th place. FaZe cutting around the side. And James with the nades. Once again, the nade master strikes. It's FaZe that pay the penalty.
You can see they're already down to 2 right now. The reses are going to be hard to get from that position. Meanwhile, Atlantis under a lot of pressure on Everest at the direct time. There is the Boars that are just to the north of where this fight that's happening with FaZe and Liquid are at.
Just 2 members of FaZe. That's all that stands there. Gemty taking shots on his brother, I believe, there behind the tree.
Just
Getting
some
a little
brotherly
peek
love,
around.
you know? Just throwing some
Brotherly love.
love. Like, here, I got this for you.
Yeah, and there is Samty making the push on his brother. Scoon's been taken down. Fuzzface down low. Samty's actually in the open now. He doesn't realize. He didn't know that Fuzzface was down there. This push really
James just
risky.
went down.
Gemty got James as well. Yeah, this is Liquid, who were 4 members pushing on 2 members of FaZe in a dangerous position. We've seen this before. 2v4s we faced. You don't mess with them.
They've
Spray
played
down,
this
not gonna
so
work.
well. I find it interesting that Boars is just listening to this. They're letting these guys fight it out, and they're going to strike on the weak point right now. FaZe does manage to break out of this. Samty has to hold this angle. He cannot let Fuzzface reposition because all of these squads are right on top of each other, and they're having to play a hillside point. You have to get control over this whole hill, or it is so weak.
Taking a look, trying to finish off James there. Doesn't want to get the revive in. Samty wants to try and go for it. Meanwhile, Fuzzface down low.
He
The
has
blue
to provide the cover for Fuzzface. He has to get these shots. He has to provide some form of distraction right now. Samty doesn't quite manage to line up the shots on Fuzzface.
He finished off James. Now
the
circle's
pressure's
about
coming
to
in.
contract. Where's it going to go? Blanca just below them, don't forget, and the Boars, as you mentioned. It does go central. It goes to Welcome to South George. They're going to be happy. The only compound now within the circle. So everybody needs to get a move on. But FaZe and Liquid in a 2-on-2 duel, effectively, on the southern edge of this circle. With Izuku Boars just on the hill. Look, you can see on the left-hand side, Ghost Star and Co. They're all sat waiting.
They're just looking right down at this. They know that this is going to happen. We've got Method that's now sneaking up back behind Alliance at this point. A lot of these points that we're going to have to play around. Only Welcome to South George has a strong building position. It's going to be a lot of just hillside fights from here on out. 31 alive, still 11 teams up. So it's going to be about how well you can control your side positions and flanks.
This is such a hard push that Method are trying to take. Now, Alliance are absolutely screwed. They're kind of caught between Method and Atlantis now. Atlantis up on the hill, remember. So Method, as soon as they get pushed up here, Alliance can't go any further because Atlantis taking shots on them. They get the knock on VZ there, so as soon as they push forward, they've got cover from one side, the other side gets taken down. Their Method starting to collect the kills, but they don't have a great deal of cover there. They're going to have to make some sort of smoke cloud. Meanwhile, Fuzzface, did he just get a big peek on Samty there? Samty's running straight into Izuku Balls, and Ghost Star will take him down. Liquid down to 1. It's a Pizza that actually got up close and probably said, this house is clear.
But this is an important part. Naturally, the guys from FaZe, they know who were shooting at them. They saw the kill feed. They know that Liquid's step stepped up and lost somebody there, so they now know how to reposition around this.
And Gemty's actually gone in circle. Gemty's gone off to the left-hand side,
Yeah.
so he's decided, okay, let's go around. Fuzzface is going to follow on and say, okay, let's avoid that area. Andy Pyro gets himself up, taking a little couple of pot shots down on one there. Blank also to the side. Blank with 4 members alive, by the way, coming in, along with Method, so they've kept a decent amount of their resources coming into these final circles. Drayden's still on his own. He's got
Right
Big
on
Gas
the
on
other
the
side.
other side of the hill. He's up to the line.
They were looking down the other way.
Gets
There
back
he goes.
down, and Blank just clicked themselves 2 simple kills.
Oh, and now look at this. FaZe
Headshot.
taking long-range shots back over at the boars in their new position. That actually could give Abisa a chance to reposition out of this, depending on how these shots from Jimty go.
Atlantis and Method also engaging one another. Grubsy taken down there as Jemty feeling very brave, hopping up on the rock there. Now remember, Abita is still there, as you were talking about. He's up close and personal.
Abisa can be a
With that
one-man
M4.
army in a position like this. He can just step around a corner and destroy squads.
And they're all moving in a circle. Do
Oh.
they realize? They do realize, but Abita, oh, he gets him down.
one.
The Blue's on his back. He can't afford to heal. He can't afford to heal. The Blue's going to push him.
He's got a time. The competitive circles are coming in. Can he get it
Oh,
off?
no.
No! Just barely steps
Too
around and gets shot.
slow. Blank just got decimated as well. They just lost one member, Pybas, down there. Method engaging on them. Yempty continuing to try and pay dividends in this one and secure as many kills. Remember, 15 points a kill. They need all those points. They're still in 7th place on the scoreboard. Now they find themselves in the top 6. This is decent for FaZe, decent positioning considering. Method, though, and Blank and WTSG, they're all in prime position, especially welcome to South George. Look at the split. Gaxi out left, but the circle goes towards Method.
This could be very interesting because we talk about the war of attrition, all these shots going back and forth, burning off meds, burning off armor. Welcome to South George hasn't been involved in a lot of this, so they have a lot of resources to use in this upcoming fight.
8 kills and counting for Method as they start picking off Atlantis, then get a little peek over to Welcome to South George. While they've had this compound the entire time, look at the shot, the scope that Moleman just had on them. There is nothing. It is a big, wide, open
Nice shot.
field as Jemty is going off for FaZe Clan. Unfortunately, this kill was stolen away by Blank, so it's not going to be FaZe that will collect it. Blank get themselves 15 points for that one. Blank moving up the hill. Jamba just showed himself to Jemty. Jemty's got no cover here. This
Welcome
is very
to South
ballsy
George.
play.
Just took out Atlantis. Look at that. Not letting them come down the hillside.
Well, that is 6th place for them as they try and make the move. So, welcome to South George on the move. Now, the only really way they can go is probably around the south side. You can see the circle dip, and that's exactly where FaZe are sitting right now. They're going to put a smoke field down. They've got Method directly ahead of them. It's actually where Last is looking to run.
We see a lot of nice repositionings coming out of Welcome to South
They're
George.
going
They
north.
like to pull apart, go in this like line, and just stroll in general direction. So they have managed to separate out. Do see the peak. Now they have control over this hill. So they do have a foothold inside of the safe circle at this point.
Oh, this is risky for Method. Yeah, they've allowed them to get right up close. FaZe continuing to pepper the shots. The Mazalis goes down now. FaZe get themselves another. I think there's a cheering segment going on in the crowd, or is it just the analyst desk? I'm not too sure. But either way, Method with
Blank
8 kills and counting. They've had a very good, consistent tournament so far. It puts them and Welcome to South George very close, but Jemty is going to line up on Blank. There's another to his left. It's going to be Ryan Lockwood up close and personal. Fuzzface hasn't realized it.
Gets the shots off on this, and FaZe is just destroying Blank. Looks back up and sees Method, forces them back behind the hill there. They're getting so much control over this zone, but is he going to see off to the side? Yes, a lot of damage comes out, peeks around the other side, and Jemty gets it.
Wow. Fuzzface and Jemty are going off right now. 4 kills apiece as they've just decimated Blank. They're down to the top 3 now. Welcome to South Georgia Pol have pushed and prodded on Method, but they've still got 4 alive. They've basically done a ring around the roses. They were in the north. They've gone all the way around to the west side, east side,
has to get
sorry.
this.
Meanwhile, FaZe, they're getting pressured. So you can see 80's pushing forward. Doesn't realize where he's getting shot from. Jemty pushes down. Fuzzface gets down by Moleman. Now, anyone who's going to help him out there, Jemty, he's getting peppered by 80. He should go down here.
He's
by
got
all
the
rights,
moves.
but he can't seem to find the shots. Moleman coming around the side. This has got to be the end of Jemty, but how is he still alive? I don't even know. He finally goes down. It's going to be 3rd place for FaZe Clan. I don't know how they
But
managed to
they
miss
went
those
so
shots.
loud. Now look at this. Welcome to South George sees it, and they see their opportunity to get another win today, and they're just lining up everybody in Method, getting drop on drop, but Chris with a beautiful flank back behind them.
Gets around the side. This could cause them all sorts of problems, all sorts of pain, but he gets knocked down heavily there. 10 kills and counted for Method. 7 kills and counted for Welcome
But
to
that gives
South
the
George.
reprieve. Look,
Big
he can push.
performances. Andy Pyro trying to flank up as close as he can. Gaxi,
Way off the side,
they've
Moleman.
just left Vard. They've left Vard completely. They're like, okay, it's done. Doesn't matter. We're not going to be able to revive you. Moleman on the south, he could be a big part of this.
He's managed to get into the high ground position. Welcome to South George was just firing down into the valley. Now Method has finally managed to sneak their way up. Doesn't quite see the res off of this. If he pushes up any further, it's going to be very risky for him. At this point, you have to hope that Welcome to South George is really funneled in. But look at this, Miraku just walking up, taking one down, gonna get the kill onto it. This is a lot of control coming out of it, but Gaxi does go down inside of this. Moleman looks off to the distance, does see Andy Pyro down, goes for the shots and connects.
He's the only man standing. He's got to go it. 2v1. Tosses out Smokes, tries to give him the cover, but Miraku on the flank already. Gets a little angle and he can't see with the red dot. Tries to get down and lands the headshot. Miraku picks up a second chicken dinner running for Welcome to South George and catapults them up the table. They were in third place before this game. That has just secured them a very steady top 5 position going into tomorrow.
And Method comes in with a very strong second performance there, getting a lot of kills, all things considered, racking up 9. But we do have the guys from FaZe coming in third. You know that they were wanting to try to make their way up this leaderboard. Blank comes in 4th place, and then we've got Zuku Boars coming in 5th, finally making a statement on the leaderboard. But I know that the guys on the analyst desk have tons of stuff that they want to talk about, so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to them.
Big shifts, big moves coming in. WTSG gets themselves their second chicken dinner in a row, but the circles did not shift for them. They sat steady in the middle of that circle for a good amount of time, and this one looked far more secure for WTSG than the first one. But Method and FaZe get themselves big kills, big points as well.
It's so important for FaZe to get that top 3 position, but what a play from Liquid. They saw FaZe move onto Rogue, and then they continue. They chased them, but then you just see FaZe. They're down 2 guys, but they still took down Scoom and another player. I think it was James, and then they completely annihilated him, forcing them to go towards the Isako Boas, which was in the double grace. I really loved that push. That's fantastic.
We'll get to Welcome to South George in a second, and we're going to give them lots of heralding, but I think this is a relevant point. I don't know if I'm giving them too much credit, but Liquid, basically, in that point, when FaZe split off from them, they had a chance to go east-west. They started to move away from them towards Team Blank, and then all of a sudden, they sneaky chased FaZe.
Yeah.
And honestly, with the lead that Liquid has, their number 1 threat, the person they do not want to see in Berlin, is FaZe. So the chance to go behind them, hurt them, and make it harder to win. If FaZe had been allowed to advance on their own without the spoiler from Liquid, they would have probably taken 3 or 4 into that last couple of circles and potentially got the chicken dinner here and gotten back on track. So they're definitely interfering with FaZe's ability to go all the way in this one. Excellent plays and good ideas, but I think it may have backfired because they triggered FaZe. FaZe, from that moment on, the 2 that survived were playing insane. 8 kills and pushing themselves all the way up on the leaderboard to perform just out of their minds.
I mean, even if it wasn't that as a mentality going into that situation, it has that same effect anyway. FaZe, though, did very well to get themselves into that 3rd spot, considering how many teams there were zoning out Liquid as well as FaZe for them to eventually... They only had one option to FaZe. You have to go left in that situation. But let's go back to WTSG, of course, because 2 chicken dinners in a row is a big deal for them. They've really turned on. Admittedly, the circle was very much in their favor for a good amount of that adventure, but they still were able to execute effectively.
As you said, they have turned on the circle luck.
That's it. There you go.
But still, I mean, putting what I like to see from them there compared to Method, they split out on very good flanks. I like the flank from Chris. I like the flank from Moleman. But Welcome to South George, staying close together as a full team. It just benefited them so far, and that, I think, got them the win. Yeah, they didn't have the circle. Method actually got that circle. Andy ran into the circle with extremely low health, trying to get on a low ground just to heal up and everything. But they didn't have the circle, so they had to stay together and try to sweep around, and that went so far, so good for them.
Method let WTSG sneak in on that north side. They came out of the compound. They were putting in a lot of work from there. This finals 2 teams was a result of positioning. Method took the mission, judging the circle to go south, as did Welcome to South George. Took those little houses, the yellow house, gray house, did a good job of locking it up, forcing teams like Atlantis to not be able to rotate in. And then we got something we don't get to see very often, a 4v4 in the final circle. It's been a lot of 1v1s lately, but we got to see 2 squads literally playing out who has the highest, meta strategy as well as trigger pull.
Well, it wasn't even just that. It's the fact that both teams had 10 kills by the end of it as well. So WTSG, as much as they had the circle for a long time, they were still racking up the kills. We saw a few rotations from teams that had a hard time. Let's talk about what we saw from, say, Alliance having to come all the way through. They had to go through Grow Up, they had to go through Alliance, they had to go through Method. Some free kills as they'd initially kind of positioned themselves and almost gambled up towards the north, and some of the teams gambled up there too.
So what I want to talk about here. With the circle, it was basically a 60-40 chance of going either north
Correct.
and south. Alliance being a serve-any shooting range team, they have to put the eggs in the basket to go north.
Yeah.
Flames, though, they came from Russia going all the way north, so they took, there's only a 40% chance of it going north compared to where the circle was.
Yes.
So they went north, and then they went into a compound where they could easily be breached from the hill there. Alliance went in and completely wiped them out. But such a rough transition, and we can just see that when we have these kind of 50-50 shifts north and south, we just see the team struggle once they have to go over the bridges.
Yeah, the Alliance survivors pushed across the bridge. They ended up in a meat grinder between Atlantis and Method. They basically had them in a crossfire. They survived longer than I expected, but we saw a little hijinks. They had to keep adjusting. T-Bone, I think, ran over his own teammate at one point, trying to get cars moved for cover. So it wasn't, but it was because it was such a tough place to be. There was nowhere to just put your head down and dodge some bullets. And, you know, we've all been there. When you're caught behind one small defilade and you basically got your hands above your head, hoping to maybe take a 30% damage decrease on the sniper bullets coming in. You know, times are tough. You're not going to pass 10th place.
Or running with the punches.
Running with the punches to try and block bullets.
Like, but regardless of that, I think that one thing that is important to note here is 7th position was our number 1 and 2 from our standings so far, Liquid and Knights. So again, I think between all of these games, we're seeing potential big shifts in terms of those points moving forwards, with FaZe, I think, getting a very much needed 3rd place here with 8 kills.
Yeah, but also Method 2 with 10 means that they climb back up. They had been falling since this morning. Blank gets 4th place and 7 kills. So again, moving up. They're sort of recovering from a tough start to the day. And again, these are like repeat circles. We've seen 3 circles that are almost exactly the same initial picking of its location. And these teams have figured out how to adjust to it. So hopefully the next one is polar opposite and we get to see a big deviation in strategy.
Well, it's time to hear, of course, let's move over to the stage as we do have our double chicken dinner winners after our last rough day. Let's go over and hear from them.
So welcome to South George. Weren't happy that there was no chicken dinners won for them yesterday, but now I'm here with Larson after consecutive wins, 2 in a row. I mean, the camp must be feeling pretty good about being able to secure 2 in a row.
Yeah, it feels great.
I'm good. I'm glad. It's a short answer, but I like it. Was there any strategy that changed? Because yesterday you didn't have a day that you would have liked. Is it just circle luck that you feel like happened today, or do you feel like maybe you approached it differently?
We had definitely approached it differently. We put a lot of strategy thinking into it, and we've been lucky to have 3 West circles in a row. So we can move into a spot to win the game from the get-go, rather than having to claw our way in.
And do you think that like maybe your next few games now you're probably going to approach slightly differently because you've managed to get a few chicken dinners, or are you going to keep going hard, keep going for those victories, or are we going to see maybe a different drop strategy?
Different drop strategy? What? If you see no team name, you're welcome to South Georgia Pool.
That's good. That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to make sure you're going to stick in the same place. And do you think you're confident in your teammates? Because you all seem to be like Pally, you all seem to be fist bumping after every single game. Are you confident if one of you was alive at endgame, you'd be able to just take on a whole squad?
Yeah.
Good. Now, we saw at the end of the game as well. It was 4v4. Happens very rarely. We haven't seen it at all this tournament, the first time 4v4. You wouldn't have been aware of the fact that all 4 of those players were alive. Were you surprised when you came into the 4 players of Method?
Not so much surprised, more the way they were split up, and they let us get into the zone, kinda, and then they just split up, and we managed to catch them one by one.
It was impressive. Anyway, congratulations. Best of luck in your next games. I mean, this guy gives the best answers, and it's the glasses. The glasses is what does it. We are going to go for a very short break, but when we come back, we'll be kicking off with more PUBG action, so don't touch those browsers. We'll be back very shortly.